Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming to Mayor and Chief at your service. The Chief and I have about 4 of these every year, and we alternate on topics. I choose a topic one time, he chooses a topic, but of course they overlap, they go together because safety is our top priority in Vienna, and the care and the well-being of all our residents. Tonight, I just wanted to call out a couple council members are here. Jessica Ramakis is here, and Roy Baldwin is here. And we also have Delegate Holly Siebold. So thanks for coming.
Sandra Allen's here too.
And Sandra Allen is here. Councilmember Sandra Allen, thank you. I just saw you walk in. That's great. Well, thanks for being here. So tonight's topic is suicide prevention. We're mainly focusing on teens and adolescents and also mental health concerns. You know, I know everybody in this room is here because they know it's such a serious topic. And I think, all of us probably know someone or someone in our families that suffers sometimes or always from mental health. And when your child is going through mental health issues, it is heartbreaking. There's nothing worse. It's like a knife in your heart. And I can't imagine anything worse than losing a child to suicide. And so that's what we're focusing on tonight. We have a very special group here tonight, an organization, Eric Monday Foundation, and they are going to start us off. And then we also have 2 people from the county, and we'll introduce them. They are going to be our next speakers. We, as a town, of course, we are town residents, but we are also Fairfax County residents. And so as a town, we don't have the services, but we have them as a county. And so we get to use those services too. And so it's always important to know what are those services that we can use as town residents. And hopefully tonight, I appreciate everybody being here. We're also being filmed, so hopefully people will watch this and just spread the word of where you can get help and what organizations are out there to educate the public and to also provide services for our families. Okay, so I want to introduce, tonight we have Brian and Holly Monday are here. Nancy Green is also here from the Eric Monday Foundation. I don't know if all 3 of you are coming forward or just whoever.
Just Brian, apparently.
Brian, okay. So Brian is going to give us a presentation and tell us a little bit more about the Eric Monday Foundation. A lot of you have seen there's a big banner across Maple Avenue once a year during Mental Health Awareness Month. Their hashtag is Take Down the Stigma. The town supports their organization very strongly. And so I appreciate that I've gotten to work with you on some things.
Okay. Before we begin, Brian, if I could take just 1 minute.
Sure, of course.
Because
he's also the chief of police, and I'm the mayor, by the way.
That's it.
Didn't do those interviews.
I'd like to also introduce another special guest we have tonight because he's going to have to go out and play with some Girl Scouts here in a minute.
Yes.
But we have Marlin. He is the facility dog. His handler is Detective Marcos Herrera. Marlin's a facility dog. He's trained. He comes to us from the organization is called Much with a Mission. It's a national organization that obtains dogs, trains them for 2 years, and then departments apply for the dogs. You go through a process, you interview, and we get an officer, and the dog is basically assigned to Marcos. Goes home with Marcos, comes in with Marcos, works with Marcos. And it's just a facility dog. He walks around, everyone pets him, everyone loves him. It's great, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of aspects to it I wasn't even thinking when we decided to go with the program. He's great with juvenile victims. He's great to help victims get through testifying in court. He's great. Marcos just did an officer-involved shooting because he's part of a regional team in Alexandria, and he was telling me how even at that, Marlin was great with coming in and relaxing the officers who were all, super high and wound up but needed to be interviewed. He does such an amazing job. Everyone in the station loves him. Marcos does a great job of getting them around to the community events. So he's really, really a nice addition to the department. So, and with that, Brian.
Good, thank you. So thank you for the opportunity to be here and talk a little bit about the Eric Monday Foundation. So the Eric Monday Foundation is built on engaging, educating, and evolving coaches, a very small niche, but really it's much broader than coaches because we talk to teams, We talk to leaders in the community. We talk to parent groups. We've given the same presentation that I'm going to give you just a quick overview, snippets up here tonight, to the Navy helicopter fleet in the Pacific. We've done it at the NRO. And it's really a fundamental about community that makes a difference. But we focus on competitors, not something you generally hear in mental health and putting the two together. And I'll talk a little bit about why we do that. To Linda's comment, our goal is to help take down the stigma and make mental health an open conversation. And it should be an open conversation. I am not a mental health professional. The people on our board are not mental health professionals. We've engaged and we've gotten support. We've helped build programs for some incredible mental health professionals. But at the end of the day, we believe that it's a community effort that needs to happen in there. So anyway, let me keep going here. So here's a statistic for you. Look at this room, take it in half. 49% of adolescents have at some time a mental health challenge. 49%. That's a CDC statistic we took down. We were actually working with some different numbers at the time originally, but it absolutely believes anybody who's ever coached in their life or anybody who's ever been a manager of people, anybody who's ever done anything with large organizations and stuff, recognize that sometimes people have difficulties in there. And mental health has unique challenges because these problems are not obvious. People are unwilling to share. People are willing to come forward because it's personal information and there's a stigma. As much as we work on take down the stigma, there's been incredible progress on stigma, taking it down. There's still a lot to it in there. We're going to talk a little bit about suicide tonight, and we don't spend a lot of time on suicide, but you can't cover it in mental health. The Eric Monday Foundation sadly was born out of tragedy. My son took his life. He was an athlete, wrestler, and lacrosse player at Washington Jefferson University. He's Vienna, went to Madison, played 3 sports at Madison, an integral part of the community, and he had faced mental health challenges for a long time. The thing that we came out of it, so in backstory on that, was is he was going through, sports were incredibly important in his development in his life. And with mental health challenges, actually fixed and helped elevate in there. The flip side was there was a lot of coaches that never really understood. Some were awesome back then, but there were others that did not want anything to do with the conversation, didn't want to deal with any of the challenges out there. And we've all been, if you dial back in your personal history, you've all seen situations like that. And so the foundation, that's why we went after the take down the stigma. It's okay to have a conversation. It should be a relative conversation. And we try to prevent things that happened to him. When he broke down that night, there was a night, and I could trace it through text messages. In his outreach network, some of it wasn't available, and some people that should have been there just weren't there. I'm convinced that he would still be here with us today, probably, kidding me and harassing me about something if that network was there, and if the network was in fact broader. So anyway, that's the little rationale why we do this. So we have an athlete competitor focus. Competitors experience unique stress and intensity and are the least likely to ask for help. Think about it. I'm competing I'm in a competitive situation. I could be competitive in band. I could be competitive in anything. And the last thing I want is to disclose that I've got challenges, and therefore maybe the coach goes, well, maybe we'll start somebody else. Okay? This is the mental process that goes in there. Least likely to ask for help. Also sadly, the most likely to follow through when self-harm. There's an intensity that drives into athletes. We tell coaches there's statistically a significant number of each team that have mental health challenges. I've coached now for over 40 years in multiple sports, still coaching, my little swan song at Madison right now for football. And I can tell you, I can look at 20% of the population, they've got some struggles going on, whether it's anxiety, whether it's a little bit of borderline depression, whether it's other things that are going on in there. It absolutely is part of every team that's out there. And this is what we help educate coaches on. So backstep, our training, which you're getting little snippets of here tonight, is mandatory for every sports coach in Fairfax County in the public school system. So good news is that, your girls soccer coach is going out there and, they go, oh, I got another required training that goes on there. But most of them, we get really, really positive feedback out there. In fact, I was at I had to be reintroduced as a coach myself and went into the training. And, there was a lot of discussion about what was relevant training that we had, because there's a lot of different trainings in there. And, when I asked, mental health, Bill Curran asked mental health, and people put up their hand and said, that was really hopefully impactful. And that's what we're trying to do, is get it as an open conversation. Leaders and coaches, teammates have a unique and powerful relationship with competitors. We tell people that if you're playing an intense sport, or if you're competing in band, that may be the most important adult in an adolescent's life at that particular time. Parents are truly the most important, but if they were like I was when I was young, I practiced my Heisman move, and I'd talk to my father about once every quarter to tell him what the grades were, and he'd go grunt, and I'd go grunt back at him, and we were done. We didn't have to talk about this stuff anymore. That's not that untypical out there. So that's why another reason that we went after coaches for this. We talk about culture of athletics. I'm not going to spend time with you all here tonight about that. But this is something that's really important. Many of them see it as their primary identification. I can tell you, I've got a junior in high school right now, and he's lost his season to an injury, but he identifies himself first as a football player right now. But he's learning so much more from that. But I'm telling you, it's amazing what they put into it in a special environment that is created through athletics. There's another coach we have out there that, talks about high school football is the greatest game on the planet. So I'm a little biased for other people who have other sports out there. I know that. But he's right, because the level of intensity and preparedness and work efforts and growing and getting out what you put in can be immense, can be absolutely immense. Tremendous game. All the sports, though, all the competitive activities, I think, we as a country, are very much in support of our competitors. So I'm going to give you a couple video clips. Before I play it here, I'm going to tell you something about it, though. We went to coaches or people involved with the athletics, and we said, we just want you to talk about mental health, and we'll give you a prompt question, but you're on your own. So everything here you're seeing is unscripted here tonight. This is a longtime Vienna coach also here.
I don't think any coach really wants to stigmatize mental health issues. I think all coaches get into coaching to help students. We're just not all sure, exactly how to do that with this topic right here.
And I think that's a universal feeling that comes from coaches, why we were trying to put the bridge in there to help that out a little bit. We teach about young adults and adolescents, unique things. Emotional and behavioral difficulties are common. The monosyllabic responses, that's a big word I learned, monosyllabic, by the way. It just means a grunt, yes, no, we're done with this conversation. The whole individuation and separation, talking about being chosen as a significant other or choosing as part of that. And this is where mental health concerns often start to arise. In there. Many of them start even earlier, like depression starts at an earlier age. I also want to point out that, again, why not professionals in there. If you look, it's a great graphic in there, and it just talks about the 100 or so different things that most of them we recognize these words and what they may be. All of us are not in a position to diagnose, treat, those types of things, but we are in a position to engage and make a difference in that process. So we teach a concept called LASER: listen, accept, support, refer, and report. The report's is more for in the county system that becomes imperative in there. Listen, accept, support, and refer. So what does that mean? Listen. So when we're having conversations with people that seem a little bit off, we have another clip that we talk in here. Is a great coach at O'Connell, has won state championships in softball and stuff, and she says she's learned, don't get furious, get curious. When things are going on and you get an obstinacy and pushback and under subterfuge, things like that. We need to learn to listen. We need to collectively learn to listen. And we got to listen to let them tell their story. It's not about our story. It's not about our putting it in the guide rails. It's not about bringing them back into the things. One of the things we need to do is just learn to listen. The second, we need to accept. It's their account of their experience, especially when people are going through a mental health challenge. It's their account, their experience. It's not our job to investigate or adjudicate, or fix. But it is, if it really is a crisis moment, we tell people that it is important to ask about suicide, homicide, or violence. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit. So we talk about listen, accept, and then support. So there's an art that says, I'm here for you. That's a support dog, and it's aptly named in there. And a support dog is there to know, what, I've got something to ground in, it could be okay. We're going to get in there. We're here to support you. You're not going to minimize crisis for somebody who's going through crisis. Don't attempt to dissuade. It's going to be okay. That doesn't work. We teach about that it's okay, though, to lend ego strength. Hey, we're here for you. Okay, we're here to help. We're here to listen in a process. And then if it needs to be, then we go to refer. We ensure the safety. We'll talk about that in a second, too. We use a relationship to help with the referral, and then we try to tell people, find out who you need to refer to. Fortunately, we have a great school system in Fairfax County, and there is counselors that can be referred to, and they're well organized and know what they're doing on that process. So we refer to facilitate the process. And lastly, there are places where you need to report, but frankly, you need to inform, so on a personal basis. So you as community citizen, we're going to run people. This laser tool is just as applicable in the community, but we need to report to a parent, hey, something's going on. I think we got to go a little bit further on some things, for instance, in there. We talk about that follow-up is so critical. And follow-up doesn't mean that you're going to, in the treatment business or the fix, but you got to know that the individual been through a lot, that you have a special relationship. That's why you're having a conversation. If you don't follow up to say, hey, how's it going with the counselor? What are you doing to follow through on what we talked about in there? Then you may have been another failure along a failure path that's getting worse in there, or feels like a failure path that's getting worse. So we tell as a coach, you're the critical, influential adult. You have to follow up. It's not an option. Suicide risk. We do teach suicide risk, and we to talk about what to listen for, among other things. And listen, here's a couple thoughts that are written on there. I wish I was dead. I can't take it anymore. If this doesn't happen, I'm going to kill myself. We always tell people you have to take this incredibly seriously. And so then what do you have to do? You have to ask the difficult suicide question. And the suicide question is, are you thinking of hurting yourself? Are you thinking of killing yourself direct? And we tell people that not everybody can ask that question. I could tell you 15 years ago, I had no more ability to ask that question than I did to fly to the moon. It was just too hard. I was too fearful of the thing. So we tell somebody, find somebody else who can. We got an issue. Let's go communicate about this. And we also pass on reinforcement that says you don't increase risk by asking. There are multiple studies been out there on that. That's not a risk point. You do not increase risk by asking directly, but you may increase risk by not asking. Again, that whole thing, if you don't care enough to really follow up on me, maybe I really am that failure. It's reinforcing the failure thought concept in there. So, a couple videos just to give you, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about another concept we teach, and that's resiliency. And so I'm going to let some coaches and administrators talk here a little bit about that.
You can teach resiliency and build a culture, particularly in athletics, because you're allowed to fail. It's a given that you will fail in athletics. There's no one who walks onto a field, a court, a mat, a pool, name the venue, name the sport, where you don't fail, because it's inherent in the sport. And learning that failure, learning how to overcome the failure, learning how to be resilient, learning how to focus on how can I improve so I don't, in the end, lose or fail, is a huge skill.
I think coaches can make a difference in kids' life when we come to terms with mental health, that we understand I'm not an expert. I'll never be an expert. I don't have a doctorate in psychology or psychiatry. But if we give kids armor, when we build resilience in kids, they're much more likely to find help. As a coach, my job is when I deal with a kid who is dealing with a mental health issue, I'm going to find them help.
Your team will benefit from you having a stronger relationship with your players. They're going to trust you more. They're going to respect you more. They're going to listen more and react better to the things that you're telling them. So that's really critical. These aren't just mental health and suicide prevention skills. These are life skills and youth development skills and just plain old coaching skills.
So the critical point is that we think in a competitive situation, you're going to find failure and you're going to have to find ways to build on resiliency. We also teach about building a culture, being a culture, a successful culture in there. And in that culture, the culture of caring comes through in there. And so I got to apologize to put a non-Vienna coach in there. I know for this is a Vienna crowd. The good news is father grew up in Vienna, so that's the important thing to note there. So little aside on that. We talk about how do you build a culture? How do you build resiliency? And actually we borrowed this from the county, and we talk about the resiliency wheel of providing the opportunities for meaningful participation. The sports do that. Increased pro-social bonding absolutely does that. Set clear and consistent boundaries. If you've ever been on any athletic field and the amount of discipline that goes on in there. We teach life skills. Hopefully we do that too. And we provide caring and support and set communications and high expectations. All these things, in that competitive environment, if the coaches has bought into this, can have a really, really positive thing about having that. And it helps us build a culture that says you can take down the stigma. Mental health challenges are part of life, absolutely part of life. We also focus on take down the stigma as a general messaging in there. Many of you all are familiar with the type of stigma, stuff. Now King Charles was one of the early adopters that said, the movement, we needed to do that for over there. But there's many have been at, the Simone Biles of the world is helping us, break that down in there. But little things like be conscious of language or choosing empowerment over shame. Making sure we're seeing the person and not the illness, and listen and let them tell their story. So there are things that we as a foundation try to promote in that process. And so we talk about how can you help, the role of the leaders, to be aware and be involved, to make regular inquiries of the person, the whole person, and making sure we're giving specific positive feedback along the way, to reinforce. So we communicate the high expectations. That's a wonderful thing to do. We send out the clear, consistent boundaries. We use the laser concept, to make sure that we're engaged in those conversations. We continue to build that culture. So that's how we, tell coaches and how leaders and parents, how they can do. So a couple more videos, and I'll come get more towards the conclusion here.
One thing you learn as a coach is that people really don't care what you know until they know that you care. And if you care about the whole athlete, not just how they perform on the field or on the mat or on the court, but you're concerned about their well-being, you're concerned about their futures, then you're going to make sure that any issues they're dealing with, that they have the proper toolkit to deal with those things.
It's going to make coaches aware that there's more out there than just what they're coaching the sport.
So Greg Monday's brother, but also a longtime Vienna fixture, so many of you may know him. Roy Hill is now the coach at Marymount University, but he was one of the first grants we gave from the foundation because of the program building and the grabbing people from, some difficult communities over in the Hayfield side. His points are important. So we talk about not every problem is serious, but they all deserve attention. That's part of growing up. In there. So that's why we try to pay people, make the routine inquiries, regular inquiries, show the interest and attention in that whole person.
So I think for me, the best thing that can come out of this is for kids to realize it's okay to ask for help. And they're not always told that, especially really good athletes.
Players and athletes and young student athletes need to be able to talk about mental health issues as easily as they would a sprained wrist or a hurt knee. And until that's done, we have work to do.
Those observations speak for themselves, so I won't make any further comment on that. Let's see if we can get this move along. So, to wrap up, not all problems are serious, but they do deserve attention. We talk about athletes who experience unique stress and intensity and are the least likely to ask for help. We talk about coaches having a unique and powerful relationship. We try to encourage them to think of themselves as first responders. Again, listen, accept, support, refer, and report. We talk about a little bit of the resources on the backside in there. For those of you who are not aware, I'll give you an infomercial for the 988 number. It's available for anybody to call anytime. Not when you have a problem or get the person to call a problem, because that's the primary piece, but if I'm aware of a problem, I don't know how to approach it. Pick up the phone, call the 988 people. They can help you in that conversation. It is a tremendous source. My bride back there is on the board of HopeLink. I had to remember because we got to change name in there, which administers the 988 for Virginia and actually multiple states right now. And we're just a huge, huge believer in that process in there. And last, I'll let you see a couple comments as I close out on that. Thank you for listening. I put it in presentation mode, but ask for any questions or things you can do about the foundation. Yes?
I assume in Fairfax County this is pretty routine. What's it like in the rest of the state? And beyond that, NCAA, have you gotten involved with them?
We have not. There are some organizations that are doing, Morgan's Message. They're taking a different approach on that. In the state, I'm on the VHSL Foundation board, which had nothing to do with the mental health, how I got there. And the VHSL, for instance, has put together a Be Nice program, which has mental health incorporation on it. It was a new adoption for them, and I'll continue to work with them to try to do that. So the answer is, we've gotten ahead of the curve. Frankly, Bill Curran, who we got to appear some of this in there, we went to Bill and said, we think this is really important and impactful. And so he helped us sponsor through this to make sure as part of the coaches training here. But there is more openness and acceptance to that, but a long way to go on that. Great question. Yes. Sorry, man.
Sandra Allen. I have a few questions here. We have several high school students in the area.
Its focus is about athletes, but there are a lot of mental health issues happening with everybody. So one of the concerns I have is once you're in high school, they're reaching out, they're not getting the help, they're not getting the right help. So they're bouncing from therapist to therapist to therapist and giving up. Or when they go to college, there's no help there. They said there's help, but there aren't. So let's be very frank about that. And a lot of them don't end up completing their courses or end up dropping out because the professors are not trained. I like the fact that you said the coaches have to be trained. I think universities are doing a disservice. Kids are paying a lot of money, parents are paying a lot of money, and they are not getting their kids educated. So it's a roller coaster for these young professionals or young adults that they end up bouncing around and what they needed at the beginning. And I hope you agree with me, is the fact that they need to start taking the students as therapists. They need to start talking to the parents and helping the parents reinforce the idea. And I believe in the fact that social media has exacerbated a lot of this suicide and all these mental health issues that our young kids are right now going through. I do not want to continue seeing this number of young adults dying or having all this mental health crisis when the first thing that they should do is remove the social media. A young child does not need a smartphone. The many issues that happen with smartphones is other people are tracking them. There's hate. right now with politics, kids just follow the wrong people from somewhere else. So we have to, as parents in a small community like this, I'm glad the mayor brought this up. I've been trying to bring awareness to this. There are many young adults now that there were kids, that they are adults and they're in crisis. And some of them, it was just the social media up, incentivizing their anxiety and their depression. And as soon as they took it off for a while, they would have ended up, but some of them ended up in antidepressants. So, and those antidepressants are one after another, and I wish the people would have come to share their ideas, to share their experiences, because once they become an adult, there's other issues with antidepressants. So I just want us to be more caring community, first of all, and supporting the parents and supporting the child overall. The issues of learning, the issues of work, the issues of just plain living in a community becomes exacerbated. And if we start talking about it like you are, it's fantastic. I think if we continue sharing this in the community, I think we can break that stigma. It is not just for coaches, but I think it's for all the teachers that are there. Some of them need to be more loving with them and more caring and understanding that, like you said, you listen. A teacher can listen, and parents can reach out to them as much as teachers, friends, and coaches. Then parents are kind of, like you said, you put your hands and you know, they push you away. So it's important that those things are changed here in Vienna. I think the culture can help bring out the positive turnout of children's mental health.
That's a great segue, if I could. When you talk about community in Vienna specifically, when we decided to bring on the Eric Monday Foundation for the presentation, I know first thing I thought of is let's bring in the people just for a brief overview that we rely on when we respond to mental health issues with people in crisis, people in need. And that's going to be the Fairfax-Falls Church Community Services Board. So we have with us today Laverne Williams and Chad Christian, who can talk a little bit on this. You know, I think I set them up there. I didn't know they didn't know they were going to be filmed, but they can talk a little bit about what Fairfax County has out there, how they do get these services out to people, what they are actively doing in the community, and how to take advantage of their services as well as their prevention methods. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Laverne Williams, and I'm the Division Director for Youth and Family Services at the Fairfax-Falls Church Community Services Board, and I am joined with my colleague, Chad Christian, with Wellness and Prevention. At the Fairfax-Falls Church Community Services Board, just as Dan said, so many youth experience behavioral health crisis at some point in their life that Fairfax-Falls Church Community Services Board believes we have to provide youth services. We provide outpatient and intensive services to youth with serious emotional disturbances, substance use, co-occurring, and mental health disorders. We also provide services to individuals with intellectual disabilities and developmental disabilities. What do those services look like? We provide intensive and outpatient services. We provide therapy, case management, individuals, as well as psychiatry. We also have medication management, and we also provide youth medication-assisted treatment. Youth medication-assisted treatment might be a new term, but again, it's a term that we now have amongst our county because many of our youth got involved in opioid use. Many of you have heard of fentanyl. So the way we combat or address that is through youth medication-assisted treatment. Again, Fairfax County is not a stranger to the national crisis in behavioral health issues with our youth. But we are responding well with the help of our board and our executive leadership. One of the things that we've recently done is we've expanded our youth medication-assisted treatment, which is a new program. And what that looks like is youth can actually receive medications to combat opioid use disorder, and where we once only had that service at the Sharon Boulevard Center, now we've expanded that service, so it's now in South County off Route 1 at the Jerry Highland Center. But the Community Services Board, our Board of County Supervisors, and our executive leadership said, let's not stop there. Just 11 months ago, they provided Youth and Family Services 25 new positions to expand resources so that we can address the behavioral health needs of the youth of our community. It's that important. With those services, 8 of those new resources are managing the Youth Medication Assisted Treatment Clinic that I just spoke about. The others are spread out throughout the county through a cooperation or a partnership with Neighborhood Community Services. Fairfax County decided we needed to put services in the community where youth live. So now we not only just have the traditional sites that we once had, which is the sites that you go into the clinic, you know, everybody knows where they're located, and you get your behavioral health services there. Now, to Brian's point, we have services in the community in which youth live, where they can go into a neighborhood community service rec center, and they could receive services, and no one knows why they're going in there. They could be going in to play a game of basketball, pickleball, whatever they do. And the stigma of walking into a mental health clinic is removed because they're actually going in to see their mental health provider, but the rest of the world does not have to know. We are so happy to announce that we used heat maps to determine where these community-based services needed to be through our community. And we determined through the heat maps that they needed to be in Herndon, they needed to be up by Colbert, and we also needed them off of Route 1 in Alexandria. So what we did was we went out again to our partners, Neighborhood Community Services, and we said, can we have some space in your rec centers, in your community centers? And they were gracious, and they said, yeah, let's do this together. So we actually have teams of 5 behavioral health specialists, from doctors, psychiatrists, case managers, senior clinicians, to peer support, that are actually available in community centers to help a youth with whatever they might be facing in the behavioral health realm. The centers that we're located in is the Herndon Resource Center in Herndon, the James Lee Center, not far from Colbert, and the Hybla Valley Center, which is off of Route 1. These are essential services, and we are so proud to be able to provide these services to the youth of our community. And this is so brand new, but we saw fit that in less than 10 months from the time the services were approved by the board, which was last August of 2023, in less than 10 months, the Community Services Board stood these services up, created the positions for 25 new resources, got the staff hired, trained, found the space through our community partnerships, and now we're proud to say that our Youth Medication Assisted Treatment Center launched in June, and our 3 new community-based centers where youth can walk from their homes to their services, they all launched over the summer in July and in August. Our staff are fully ready to provide the services, and we even worked hard with the state, with DBHDS, to get these facilities licensed for these services. That is how serious the Fairfax-Falls Church Community Services Board is about addressing the needs of our youth. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Chad Christian. I am a prevention specialist with the Wellness, Health Promotion, and Prevention team with the Fairfax-Falls Church Community Services Board. Not many people have heard of the Wellness, Health Promotion, and Prevention team, so I want to tell you just really quickly what it is that we do. We go out into the community and provide trainings, workshops, presentations, and campaigns specifically centered around substance misuse, suicide prevention, and mental health and awareness. Tonight, I'm here in honor of World Suicide Prevention Day to tell you about two specific programs that we provide to the community free of charge. The first of which is a training by the name of QPR. That is our Question, Persuade, and Refer training. In this training, you can come in person, online, once again, free of charge. And we train you in how to recognize the signs and symptoms of a serious suicide crisis scenario. So what does that look like? What does that feel like? How do you approach the conversation around suicide? How do you refer the person to professional supports? What they look like nationally and locally. In addition to providing the QPR training, we also provide tangible resources, some of which are displayed on the back table here through our Lock and Talk initiative. Now, our Lock and Talk initiative provides resources to assist us in providing barriers between lethal means. So if someone's considering suicide, we provide gun locks, trigger locks, and cable locks. We provide medication lock boxes. We provide individual locking caps and even alcohol bottle locks. All tools that we can use as lay people, everyday community members to assist in keeping our loved ones and further community members safe during times of suicide crisis. Once again, we are the Wellness, Health Promotion, and Prevention team. We provide a whole host of resources, trainings to the community free of charge, in person, online. We make ourselves widely available to anybody who is interested. We want to thank you all for allowing us to come here and speak with you tonight.
Thank you. Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Bob. Laverne and Chad did bring some flyers and examples of some of the prevention equipment Chad just spoke about, so please.
Yes, feel free. If anybody's interested, we provide mental health training, suicide, all of these trainings, opioid response trainings. I have a one-pager here with all the trainings, what they are, brief descriptions, where you can access them, free of charge. Anyone in the community can take them.
Yes, please do. Yes. So we have, yeah.
Wasn't planning on sharing that. So my name is Allison Hill, and I live in Vienna, and I have triplets. And one of my daughters dealt with being bullied in 5th and 6th grade, middle school. And I want to thank the Vienna Police Department for how they helped our family out. There was a kid at her school that she went to school with and she thought was a friend, and I took them out. They went to a different school in 7th through 12th grade. But anyway, we're still in Vienna. And over social media, he was bullying her, and he also bullied her brother, and it was pretty bad. He told her brother to go kill himself, and he was just saying awful things to her. And it's a long story that we don't have time to go into right now, but my whole point in the story is I contacted the Vienna Police Department. They came to my house. They took a police report, and they took it very seriously. And I have 3 freshmen in college now. Thankfully, she overcame it. She went on to do a wilderness program in a therapeutic boarding school because we tried other things that just did not work. We had the resources to do that for her because, unfortunately, insurance doesn't cover that. And she's come out on the other side, and she's very resilient. She's doing really, really well as a freshman in college. And but I just wanted to share that the police officer came out to our house. They took the report, and then they assigned me to a mediator through the county. And along with the mediator, we worked together with the other parent, the dad of these 2 kids, and came up, he's like, well, how do you want to handle this? It's the first offense. So since it's the first offense, they're not going to be charged with cyberbullying, which I understood that. But I wanted some sort of punishment because I wanted to make sure that this father and these children took this seriously because my daughter wanted to kill herself and came close to it. But anyway, we did mediation, and I said, I want them to do 50 hours of community service with whatever suicide prevention organization around here they want to do one with. And so I gave, the one that we were involved in. And I just want to thank the Vienna Police Department in Fairfax County because they did help us. And I truly believe, that if they hadn't taken me seriously and my daughter's situation as serious as they did, she may not be here today because it would have continued. The kid wouldn't have stopped. She was doing it over social media. And I do think social media is definitely a challenge, but that's, in my opinion, like, I was very strict with my kids about it. And, you know, I'm not a fan of the smartphones either, but that's really a situation for at home. You know, I don't think that's anyone else's job except for mine as a parent to help control that. But anyway, my whole point in the story is I just wanted to thank the police department and Fairfax County for the help that they gave us and the resources that they provided when we needed it the most.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
We spend a lot of time on resources for our officers, for the sit train, and we train officers up for this stuff. But the Community Services Board is really, it's such a good partnership. They have another part of their board was here several months ago and talked about Marcus Alert 988 system. Those are just great resources, and you know, so thankful to be in Fairfax County where we can access those resources and help you. So I'm really glad it worked out great.
Right, 100%. Anybody else have any questions for any of the wonderful people that have been here? Here we go. Yep.
Thank you. This is for both of you. I just wondered, do you work with or share any resources with AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention? I've done some work with them, and I know they raise a lot of money. I just wondered if they share any of that monies locally with Fairfax County.
We have not, we have engaged with them, and I think it's a great organization and the research and support that they provide out there. But we've really not, we've more gone independent from what they do out there. But yeah, no, great call out on that. And,
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Brian. No, that's great.
We are not sure about whether or not that particular organization is a part of the Fairfax County, the Fairfax-Falls Church CSB collaboration, but we do collaborate with quite a few of our partners throughout the community. I'm just not sure about that particular one.
Cool. Thank you.
And we will.
That's wonderful. Okay.
I just want to ask you a question. What is the success rate that you've seen based on your program? Is there any success rate? As far as I know, I have not heard from therapists that there is a success rate on what they are implementing. I would like to hear from you if there's such thing of success.
Absolutely. The Fairfax-Falls Church Community Services Board and Youth and Family Services. Oh, thank you. Youth and Family Services uses evidence-based practices for our youth. Evidence-based practices are practices that that we can utilize and we know we will get positive outcomes. We also partner very strongly with the George Mason University Consortium, who is behind multiple evidence-based practices, trains our clinicians in many of the evidence-based practices that they deliver, so that when we are imparting them to the youth that we serve, we know that we're going to get better outcomes. And they also tell us when we might need to move a youth up in treatment, if they're at the right level of treatment, if we need to move a youth down in treatment. So yes, we get outcomes through our evidence-based services and our highly skilled clinicians. The percentage of our outcomes, positive outcomes, this year, when we took our youth survey, 88% of parents and youth said that they were satisfied with the services that we rendered, and they also said that they were satisfied with how youth improved in school and amongst their peer group.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Are they ready to come in?
Does anyone else have any?
It doesn't even have to be on topic. We can answer general town questions. You want to complain about the tax rate?
You mean. Okay. It can be for the chief or for me or anyone.
Yeah, my name is Yume San. I live in this town for 27 years. My daughter was born in the 614 Echo Street. When she turned 10, there was a SWAT team busting in my house because there was one renter was suspicious of doing drugs, which is not true. And then my daughter was on the Girls on the Run. She didn't notice that. It was 10 p.m. You guys showed up. And then next morning when she opened the door, tried to go to school, and then the door is falling on her. That caused her lifetime PTSD. It's my very first time to see policemen, the Vienna policeman, there was a lady showed up, and everything else is federal, I believe. But that experience traumatized me for life.
Sure.
And she was about to commit suicide. She says, why we are here? Why they're doing this to me? Now she's 27 years old, adult. She's still not get over it. I wish at that time someone or some organization, somebody out there care and then help us. So it's a good positive thing. That's why I'm here.
Oh, good. I'm
All
glad
right.
you're coming.
Thank you. It's a beautiful facility here.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else here tonight have any questions about things going on in the town or questions for the chief of police?
All right. We're going to do a quick photo op with me and the mayor.
Oh, yep.
A local Girl Scout troop one.
Let's go, guys. Let's go over here and say hi to the chief.
This is MTO Vasquez. If you ever need a tour of the station.
That's right.
Come on, everybody. Let's get a picture.
I got special guests over here. See, we're touring and looking at the holding cells.
There we go.
You already saw Marlin, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you got to see Marlin.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So sweet.
Well, welcome. Good to see you girls. Okay.
Okay.
All right, how are we doing it?
Caleb,
Take a picture. You're taking a picture.
Caleb's got it. All right, everyone.
Tell us how to be.
Flip around here.
Yes, everybody. Yep. Okay, get in,
There we
get in,
go.
get in. Yeah, there we go.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for stopping in.
All right, thanks.
Definitely appreciate it.
Nice to meet you guys. Nice to meet you.
Finish your tour.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
All right, yeah, back to business. They got to get home, Juan. They have homework tonight.
That's right.
All right.
That's right. But if there's no, are there any other questions that anybody had? Okay. Here we go.
As the stigma comes off, anybody can fall victim of mental health. We have the military. There is a great need for therapists there as well, and also here with our police officers. Anybody at any time. So the more we talk about it and treat it as a health issue, just like you go to a heart cardiologist, you have to go to a doctor, and it should not be police enforced, but unfortunately that is right now the way it works. But I think we should treat it as a regular illness, and I think by making the stigma go away, we will be able to have that, and you don't have to write it in your employment or nothing like that. It's just a regular medical condition.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, that's wonderful. Well, I just want to thank the Eric Monday Foundation. I want to thank Community Services Board.
Yep.
Yes, Community Services Board. Thank you so much for all that information, for coming to Vienna. We really appreciate you. And in the back there, if you want to get a cookie to go, and also there's some information that you left some flyers there, and if you haven't signed up, please sign up, because we'd like to know who came, and then we can email you and invite you to the next Mayor and Chief at your service, which will be
November
Do we have the date?
second
There we go.
Tuesday in November.
Here we go, second Tuesday in November. Yeah. And we don't know the topic yet, so
November
stay
12th.
tuned. Stay tuned.
November 12th, if you have an idea for a topic, please let us know. The mayor and I usually, as soon as this one's over, we'll probably sit down sometime this week and knock our heads around a little bit to decide on the next topic. We try and make it Vienna specific. Like she said, sometimes law enforcement, sometimes general information, sometimes very helpful information. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Everyone have a good night.
Good evening.